Yes, so we had covered until this page 28, the last line that you read. I'll just go through the last passage again on page number 28. A consciousness of beauty and of bliss, a knowledge which became what it perceived, replaced the separated sense and heart, and drew all nature into its embrace. So these are, it's like a description of all these experiences. One can call them these yogic experiences, when all the layers of ignorance are being shed and something more of the existence is being revealed to Ashwapati. It's almost like, imagine that I'm wearing a goggles, and all these years in my life I have been always wearing goggles and looking at life, and now I did not even know that I have been wearing goggles, and looking at life in that color. Now all those limited kind of doors of perception are being shed. So once I let go of the goggles, I see that, oh my God, it's something more. I never got any chance to know that there is something more to life than that yellow colored, that that shines through my yellow colored goggles. So we, first of all, it's like a recognition that we are wearing goggles, and goggles is the limited perception of the mind, limited ways of our bodily, the senses operate in a particular way. And most of the time in our lives we are just operating from a very physical sense of being, right? That I am this body, I have this mind, I have this, these are my feelings, me and my story. So it's a very, very limited way of looking at the world and the life. And slowly, as we become capable, all these layers of ignorance one by one keep on shedding themselves, and there is more and more and more and more of life that is revealed to us. So the life was already there in its fullness, but I was not able to see because my perception was limited. So it's as if one is moving into fullness, which is already there, which is already, there on the subtle planes, on even on the material planes, on the subtle planes. Sri Aurobindo talks of so many worlds in this existence which we are not even aware of. So this was what was being revealed to Ashwapati, a consciousness of beauty and of bliss. If we look at earthly life, we rarely have these moments of beauty and bliss. More often than not, we have pain, suffering, and our confusions and chaos of the family, the relationships, and all that. But now his consciousness as if grew into this, or touched into the planes of beauty and bliss, and a knowledge which became what it perceived. So as we were discussing last time, this is a knowing by identity. I know you by identity, I become you in that moment. So through identity with you, I know who you are. This is the level of consciousness that he kind of touched or was given a glimpse of, and it replaced the separated sense and heart. Usually the way we live in our separated limited selves, that I am me and you are you, you know uh, I may not trouble you and you should not be troubling me. So this limited personality that we usually live in, the separated sense of me, my heart, my mind, my feelings, this was replaced, and as if he one grew one with the whole manifestation, the whole nature, into its embrace. So this is where we kind of stopped last time. So we'll begin from here, the last line of the page 28. The mind leaned out to meet the hidden words. From here we'll begin. Yeah. Who would like to read?
I'll go, Monica.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. The mind leaned out to meet the hidden worlds. Air glowed and teemed with marvellous shapes and hues. In the nostrils, quivered celestial fragrances. On the tongue, lingered the honey of paradise. a channel of universal harmony. Hearing was a stream of magic audience, a bed for occult sounds earth cannot hear.
Yeah. So this is a glimpse of what was happening, what kind of experiences Ashwapati is having. The mind leaned out to meet the hidden words. So we remember the earlier lines that we read, that as if he sat in this inner chamber and he looked out from this inner chamber and he was given this glimpse of the magnanimity of the existence, the manifestation. So his mind, which is now not a limited mind, it has shed its doors of limitedness. The mind leaned out to meet the hidden worlds. Hidden worlds, why hidden? Because more often the way we live life is a limited way. So they are limited, they are hidden from our sight. They are hidden from our consciousness. It does not mean that they are not there, right? Just because if I don't have the capacity to get a glimpse of those worlds does not let me for sure that they are not existing, right? Now he was capable, he could get a glimpse of these parallel existences. And what are these worlds? Where air glowed and teemed with marvelous shapes and hues. Air was full of light, it glowed with that light. Teemed, teemed means brimming full, as if they were brimming full, all these worlds, the worlds that is getting a glimpse of, they are brimming full of marvelous shapes and hues, those which we usually in earthly existence we don't even get to know or see or feel. Air glowed and teemed, the air was brimming full of marvelous shapes and hues. In the nostrils, quivered celestial fragrances. It's almost like the same earthly senses of perception, taste, smell, touch, and all that, they are being elevated to a refiner and refiner taste. you know Usually we are so gross in our touches, that we, for example, even when we look at entertainment, we need so much of entertainment in order to feel kind of relaxed and happy. So there is a grossness at our physical in our physical existence. Now the worlds that he got a glimpse of, there was this very subtle sense that he could touch, which earthly senses are not usually able to touch. In the nostrils, quivered celestial fragrances, not grosser, very subtle, very delicate. On the tongue lingered the honey of paradise, as if that sweet taste of these worlds, he got a taste as if on a tongue. On his tongue, he got this taste of that sweetness of the world full of light. A channel of universal harmony. This is referring to the sound, the sense of sound that one can hear. This reminded me of when Beethoven was almost dying. I think around age 28 he started to lose his sense of hearing, right? So he became completely deaf after some time, and still he was composing and composing and composing music. So when he was almost about to pass away, he said that now I will hear these symphonies in the heaven, because then I will not be limited by the sense of earthly ear, that I need to have in order to hear. And even when he was having a human body, he was listening to these symphonies or harmonies coming from the different realms of existence, which he was able to compose for the earthly existence. So he became, Ashwapati became a channel of universal harmony, owing to the fact that he was able to shed off his limited sense perceptions. Those limited goggles of sense perceptions were taken off. So he became a channel of universal harmony. He could hear those sounds which usually human hear, mortal hear, cannot hear. Hearing for him, Ashwapati, was a stream of magic audience. Usually the word audience is used as, that somebody is listening to a speaker speaking. That is what we call as audience. Now here, the way it is used is that he got a more like a refiner capacity of hearing. The sense of hearing, the capacity of hearing grew into more subtler and refiner kind of a sense. Hearing was a stream of magic audience, a bed for occult sounds. Now, hearing, again referring to the capacity of hearing, a bed for occult sounds earth cannot hear. When it says earth cannot hear, it refers to the usual mortal ears, the capacity of hearing, the eardrum, and all that we have. It is usually tuned in only to hear very grosser sounds. But this tuning was made more and more refiner so that he could tune in to those ethereal symphonies. Right? So the same earthly ear, the same instrument is the same, but as if it is tuned more in a refiner way, now he can tune in to those ethereal, ineffable symphonies that are anyway going on in the manifestation. I think this would also give a glimpse to us of what they call in mystic tradition as the anhad nad, the unstruck sound, which is forever there, but usually one cannot hear it. Yeah. And mother also says that everything is available, grace is ever present, you just have to open your eyes. So what does mother mean by opening my eyes? Because if I look at it, my eyes are open right now, right? So what does mother mean by opening my eyes? Mother says that you are missing, that the grace is ever present. So how do I tune myself into knowing that yes, grace is ever present? And this is our sadhana, this, refining of senses, the refining of kind of tuning myself into the ever present harmony, the universal harmony, which is anyway there. Yeah. So these are all experiences that he's going through. So let us hear more of what he hears and sees. Yeah. So out of a covert tract, who would like to read?
Out of a covert track of slumber self, the voice came of a truth submerged, unknown, that flows beneath the cosmic surfaces. Only mid an omniscient silence heard, held by intuitive heart and secret sense.
Yes. So now he's able to be, imagine that you have a radio, right? So the radio might be there, we have the instrument, but if it is not properly tuned, we will not be able to listen to those channels that we want, right? So that tuning and the further, in radio also we used to have these manual radios where we used to have a grosser tuning and then a finer tuning, right? So it's almost like that. It's like we have been given this instrument called the mind, emotions, feelings, the body, the senses, and they have to be tuned and tuned and tuned and tuned to much of these refinement. That is what Mother and Sri Aurobindo call as the refinement of senses. They don't call us that we should be shunning away the senses, right? Just like ascetics or the traditional yoga may say that shun away the senses because they lead you to, they lead you astray. But this is not what Mother and Sri Aurobindo have said. They have said that once you know yourself as the eternal element in the being, then you tune and tune and tune and refine yourself further and further, and there is no end to this refinement of senses. So now Ashwapati is almost showing us this way that yes, we can grow our consciousness to that extent or refine our senses to that extent that all this becomes life for us. For now, life is mostly clamor and chaos for us, but it is not necessary that it remains so for rest of our life. So now he gets another glimpse out of a covert tract of slumber self. a self that is sleeping. Yeah, that's okay, Radhika. Yeah. The voice came of a truth submerged, unknown, that flows beneath the cosmic surfaces. Only amid an omniscient silence heard, held by intuitive heart and secret sense. So we see that beneath the surface consciousness that we usually live in, the clutter of the mind, the chaos of thoughts, the surface ripples of the feelings, emotions, and the body sense perceptions, all these surface consciousness, beneath the surfaces of these consciousness, there are layers and layers of which we are only half aware, or some of them we are not even aware of. So we are as if sleeping in those layers. We may be awake in the surface consciousness, but in those deeper layers of consciousness, we are asleep. We are not, we are either half awake, or in some of them, we are not even conscious. The light of consciousness is not there. It's mostly dark and dim lit, right? There lies our real truth. There lies those truths which are waiting for them to be revealed. So Ashupati hears this voice coming from these deeper, deeper, deeper layers where truth is lying submerged. Imagine that there is a vast ocean, the ocean of consciousness, and there are upper layers, surface consciousness, and there are deeper layers where deeper and deeper truths of our own being are lying submerged. There's darkness in those domains. So one has to delve deep within and put light in those domains. The light of our own knowing, the light of consciousness. There he hears a voice coming from those submerged truth that flows beneath the cosmic surfaces. How can you hear that truth? Only mid an omniscient silence heard. This is how that voice can be heard. That voice is not like what we talk right now. It's not a voice that will come in words. It's not a voice that knows a particular language. It's a voice of a knowing. It's a voice of a certitude. One just knows, that it's a voice of sure will. Yeah, the last line that is here, held by intuitive heart and secret sense. What is the secret sense? This is that sense of certitude, in our lives. So many times that we have touched this space of intuition. I know that this is what is to be done. I don't know how I have achieved at this conclusion, but something in me tells me that this is what is to be done. That knowing is what here is called as secret sense, that sure sense of certitude, held by intuitive heart, places where we have really intuitively taken a decision, not based on any logical perception of the mind or going by the past or the history, just by a pure sense of deep knowing. I know this is right for me. That truth he got a sense of, and that voice as if came or emerged from those deeper layers. Yes, and this reminded me of, Sri Aurobindo at again mother also, and Sri Aurobindo when he was to go to Chandannagar, he got this voice, he just like got it as a dictate, that go to Chandannagar, and he just abandoned all that and went and left everything in the middle, the freedom movement that he was a part of, everything was in the middle, and then he just heard this voice and he knew that I have to be in Chandanagar at this point of time. And it is not that this voice is not heard even in our mortal lives. We hear it so many times, but it's just that so many times we also ignore it. The logical mind or the analytical mind supersedes, and it says no, no, it can't be true, it can't be true, right? And we just hear the analytical mind saying, and we hear its dictate rather than hearing the dictate of the truth, which may appear highly irrational and illogical, right? So That's our challenge. That's our challenge, how to follow our truth, follow this inner knowing, and actually abandon the logical, analytical, so-called logical and rational mind at many, many, many instances in our life. So it's almost a madness that one has to follow if one wants to walk on this path of truth. It's almost an insanity that one has to follow. People may think that you're going mad, this is not how you used to be, but it would not matter much. It would not matter much. You would just know that this is the right path for you. That's why Kabir's warrior comes into picture. It needs a warrior spirit to follow the dictate of the heart. But one feels that aliveness in the life, that yes, I am alive. I feel so, so alive. Each day is full in itself. Each day has its own rhythm. And I'm thankful, I'm grateful to be, existing. So it's just a deep knowing that one knows that this is the right path. This is our challenge. Yeah. Keep sharing if anything comes.
It caught the burden of secrecies, sealed and dumb. It was the unfulfilled demand of earth, and the song of promise of unrealized heavens, and all that hides in an omnipotent sleep.
Yeah. So this voice that he hears from the depths of his being, these are very beautiful lines, the lines that we are, again, no line is less beautiful, but again, the imagery that Sri Aurobindo has, uh, and as mother shares, that one can just immerse oneself in these lines, that itself is immersing ourselves in this beauty that comes through these lines. Even these lines that we just read: out of a covert tract of slumber self, the voice came of a truth submerged. As if one touches something in the being when one reads these lines. Unknown, that flows beneath the cosmic surfaces. Only mid an omniscient silence, heard, held by intuitive heart and secret sense. And that is why the importance, the second last line that we read, silence. And that is the importance of being still in the being. That is the importance of calming down the ripples of the being. Because only then one is able to hear this unheard voice. So, this voice, it caught the burden of secrecies, sealed and dumb. This voice represented it as if it was a representative, and it kind of expressed. What does it express? This voice expressed the burden of secrecies, sealed and dumb. It voiced the unfulfilled dream demand of earth. All that earth nature seeks to be. The Sri Aurobindo shares the earthly life will become life divine. This is the desire of earthly existence. This is the desire of the collective consciousness of earth, the mortal existence, that one day life will become a life divine on this very mortal plane. So, this unfulfilled demand of earth was voiced by that voice that emerged from the depth of the being. It caught the burden of secrecies, sealed and dumb. Why the burden? As if this voice is impressing. Burden also means uh, that it is impressing upon the fact. It is kind of putting the heaviness or in the essence that it wants to manifest. And what is that impression that it wants to share? That there is this unfulfilled demand from the earth nature to be life divine, to live a life divine here. That is what it represented. It kind of manifested itself out. which otherwise is sealed and dumb. Usually it is not able to express itself, because the voice is such a subtle voice. It is not a very gross voice which can be heard in the daily clamor of life. It is almost a mute demand of the earth's nature to live a life divine. One doesn't even know that, acha, really? Earth wants to have a life divine? Oh my God, I didn't know that. Because it is a mute demand. One has to be really very sensitive to know that this demand exists in earth nature, right? So owing to the silences of the being, this was being expressed through this voice. And the song and of promise of unrealized heavens. And what else did that voice say? It reflected the promise of unrealized heavens, that yes, this mortal existence is capable of touching all those heights of supermind, overmind, and all those illuminations in this very mortal existence. This is the promise. Unrealized heavens. It so far has not been realized on mortal plane, but it is a promise. It must be done, it will be done. That's a certitude. And all that hides in an omnipotent sleep. This voice also gave him a glimpse, all the promises that will happen. It was such a certitude that it will happen. All the powers that sleep for now in that omnipotent sleep. Why omnipotent? Means all powerful. So that which is for now asleep, the moment it wakes up, it has so much of divine strength that it cannot be stopped from manifestation. That is what it means by omnipotent, all powerful in its supreme strength. But yet for now it is asleep. All those powers are asleep. Why asleep? Because the humanity, and even in our individual consciousness, the more we become capable, the more is shown to us, right? So that is what mother talks about, collaborating with the divine. The more we collaborate and keep on shedding the layers of me and my story and limited perceptions, the more I become capable as a vessel for that divine light and those unmanifested powers. you know Otherwise, those unmanifested powers, if they dawn upon in a unprepared vessel, the vessel will break, right? If it's a raw vessel, it has not been matured, the vessel will break, because there is so much of strength in those powers. So that is what humanity at a collective level, even we individual as at an individual level, are going through. We are ripening ourselves so that we can become capable of manifesting divinity in more and more subtler, refiner ways. Yeah. So this is what is being shown to Ashwapati. This voice it shares with Ashwapati. Yeah. And then comes really, it's like one of the longest lines here where we don't see full stop until, yeah, this passage. So let's go through this.
In the unceasing drama carried by time, on its long listening flood that bear the world's insoluble doubt, on a pilgrimage without goal. A laughter of sleepless pleasures foamed and spumed, and murmurings of desires that cannot die. A cry came of the world's delight to be, the grandeur and greatness of its will to live, recall of the soul's adventure into space, a traveler through the magic centuries, and being's labor in matter's universe, its search for the mystic meaning of its birth, and joy of high spiritual response, its throb of satisfaction and content in all the sweetness of the gifts of life, its large breath and pulse and thrill of hope and fear, its taste of pangs and tears and ecstasies, its rapturous, poignant beat of sudden bliss, the sob of its passion and unending pain.
Yes. So as he becomes more sensitive or capable of listening to all that is available in manifestation, what does he get aware of? In the unceasing drama, unceasing, unceasing. We also read, that line, a long, dim preparation that is life. It has been going on and on since centuries, eons, God knows when. In the unceasing drama carried by time, on its long listening flood that bears the world's insoluble doubt, on a pilgrimage without goal. I think most of us can relate to it. Insoluble doubt, one doubt dies in our life, another emerges, and that gets settled, and then another one emerges. So there is no end to doubt. And Sri Aurobindo has said that, uh, that the nature of doubt is to doubt. The very nature of doubt is to doubt. So it seems, in even if we look at our own individual lives, whenever we have gotten a relief in one particular doubt, that okay, this doubt seems to have been settled, we see that another one rises up, that what is the purpose of this life, why am I here, something or the other happens, and I'm again in doubt. And the very nature of the doubt is to doubt, so it will again begin by doubting the whole purpose of this manifestation, whether I am on the right path, whether so far the path I have taken, is it a wrong path, or all the things, it begins to doubt. So this is the drama that is being carried by life, by time.
Um,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
Chitraji.
yeah, but these doubts, no, these are all mechanical, Monica, no,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah, in the
Without
sense,
without our liking, I mean, even we want to have lot of hope and faith. This
still
doubt
the
will
doubt is
always,
here.
yeah, always it will come as an unwanted guest,
Unwanted guest.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Beautiful.
totally mechanical. It will always repeat itself, repeat itself.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, yes. Very true. Very true that you say that it is mechanical, because when it's almost seems like a part in the machinery,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the nature of that part is to doubt. So
Mm,
as you said, it keeps on repeating
yeah.
itself. Yeah, yeah. And Sri Aurobindo has used this word here, insoluble doubt. Imagine that you are putting salt in the water, that dissolves, it disappears in the water. But this doubt is an insoluble doubt. It appears that it has dissolved, but it, as Chitraji shared, that it comes again.
Beautiful, yeah, insoluble, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So as if this lump is there in that water, and it appears that it has disappeared like a mirage, but it has not disappeared. It just, one can even laugh about it, that oh my God, it is here again. Yeah, but when we are actually drenched in doubt, there we cannot laugh about it. That's our journey. Yeah. Insoluble doubt on a pilgrimage without goal. So many a times in our lives, we feel that, where am I heading to? Where am I going? Where are our lives heading towards? And even when we look at other people in our lives, we want to fix their lives, or we want to tell them that, hey, you better have some aim in your life. So at times we may be able to tell them, but at times we are ourselves so confused, and we are not sure what should be the right thing that I must be doing. How can I tell it to the other person? So as if many a times it appears that it's a pilgrimage, it's a teerth yatra, so called, but without a goal. But all of us deeply, whoever is on this spiritual path, we have this certitude, no matter how bleak or uh, very narrow that certitude may be, that yes, there is a goal, and that goal is to just we all have this certitude that there is more and more and more work that needs to be done within the being. We all have got in touch with that kind of ground or base camp in our life, that there is so much that needs to be done within our own being. There is hardly any time to be wasted on what other people are doing in their lives, and what other people are saying about me and all that. So one can at least begin from there, and that keeps us grounded. Yeah. A laughter of sleepless pleasure, foamed and spumed. So what does he become aware of? As if there is a flood that time represents, a flood, like a lot of water is coming. And what is there on the surface of water? A laughter of sleepless pleasure, foamed and spumed. Imagine that there is frothy water, there are foams and bubbles on the surface of that flood that comes. So that is how that pleasure is. It's momentary pleasure. But it's there, that laughter is there, that pleasure is there. Sleepless pleasure, that pleasure never sleeps. It just comes and it goes away, it comes and it goes away. So it's like a foam, it's very momentary. It is there on the surface of this flood that comes, and uh, he gets aware of this flood. And what other stuff comes along with this flood? Murmurings of desire that cannot die. Just as the doubt doesn't seem to die, our desires also don't seem to die. One desire gets settled, another rises up. Other ones get settled, or I don't pay attention to it, then another one rises up in the being. So one can actually never say that now I have become desireless, because you don't even know about the next moment, what is there in store for me, right? And that is what keeps me grounded. So we see that in our life, if a desire is fulfilled, even then I see there is no end to desire, because another one crops up. And when I don't pay attention to that desire, I don't fulfill that desire, it almost comes with a renewed vigor, and comes like an obsession in my life, because so far I have been trying to control it as if from the surface. So which way to go? And murmurings of desire that cannot die, as if that desire is speaking out something in its own language, murmuring something, just like uh, people who have these mental challenges, they would keep on sitting, but they would keep on saying something to themselves. Even we, if we look at our own being, we think that we are sane people, but we are all the time in day-to-day activities, we are murmuring something to ourselves. Murmurings of desire that cannot die. Yeah. But this desire is not without a purpose. We see that people in our life who have gotten into this inertia. So this desire, this passion, ambition, all these have the capacity to move the man from inertia. I may be a very lazy person, but when it comes to food or getting an ice cream, the desire of the ice cream moves me away from the bed. The desire of the ambition getting fulfilled moves me from my tamas or inertia. So these passions, ambitions, desires, they are there for some reason. They are like little pokes from our inertia. Ki chalo inertia se to utho. At least get rid of your inertia. Get up from the bed. Do something. Make something of your life. So when I go to get an ice cream, move from my tamas, maybe I meet somebody on the path, and maybe strike a new conversation, and that moves me from my inertia. So these desires also have their own hidden purposes in our life. Yeah. But they do exert the man. We feel drained, whether I am exerting myself in fulfillment of the desire, and one desire after another desire, or whether I am trying to control or not give attention to the desire. It does exert the mankind. We have to put a lot of energy out there. Yeah. And these desires also hide behind names like responsibility, that I am doing this because this is my responsibility towards my parents, but you don't even know that there is a desire lurking. What that desire is, only one would know. So these desires hide themselves in the name of responsibility, in the name of duty, in the name of fulfilling certain roles in life, in the name of selfless social service. These are all, some or the other desire is making us drive, on the path, and we are not even aware of that. Yeah. And then, as we were reading in mother's prayers and meditations, mother's one of the prayer that we read, that when one becomes a jivan mukta, one does not have a desire for oneself, even then, or only then actually one becomes capable of living a life divine. Because now I have no desires for my own petty self, but still I know that the work needs to be done, for a right purpose in a right direction. Only then a life divine emerges or comes into existence, into manifestation. Yeah. So this is what is going on, and as if it is being revealed to Ashwapati. He hears almost a cry. He hears a cry of the world's delight to be. A cry came of the world's delight to be. This very existence, the basis of the existence is delight, Satchit Anand. That is the basis of existence. Why are we here in this session today? We will not be in this session today if it was not giving us some or the other kind of delight. Some or the other kind of delight. We would be better be there where it gave us a sense of delight. When we are rearing up children, why do we rear up children? Because some beneath all those stress and struggles, somewhere it does give me a sense of delight. So if we actually look at our layers and layers of, we go to the roots of why am I doing this right now, we will see that if not for a streak of delight in that work, I will not be doing that. Because delight is the basis of existence. So I may still complain that yes, my life has a lot of misery, but I would not be able to ignore, if I am honest about that investigation, that there is a delight in the family that I live in, even after the chaos that is there in the family. Because delight is the basis of existence. And this is how honesty helps us to, kind of become aware that yes, I'm ruled by delight. And when the life becomes so much of a misery that it is not giving me even a pinch of delight, I will actually become really suffocated in that kind of life. And that suffocation will be a signal to do something about that situation, because that is the meaning of existence is being taken away, and there is no delight that I'm getting in that relationship. There is no delight that I'm getting in that particular job. So it will poke me almost, that hey, move on from that particular job, time to move on, time to move on, right? Yeah. So this is the cry that he hears, uh, the world's delight to be, the grandeur and greatness of its will to live, the will of the world to live. All of us want to live. Most of us want, have an urge to live. We may have different kind of desires why I want to live, what kind of a life I want for myself. But there is a will to live. Why is it even there? Why is it even there? It is coming from the divine will, the delight of existence that I just want to be. So we may feel that I am disconnected from the divine, but the very fact that I have this will to live is telling me that I am very well connected to the divine. This is the sense of connection. If not for this connection, I will actually begin to slowly even lose the will to live. And that is what happens when people, begin to fall into such dark depression where one decides to commit suicide, because one has such a big cloud, almost a wall of obscurity separating that delight, that oh my god, the delight is not there in my life, so what is the reason to live? What is the reason to live? And then one chooses that, okay, that I cannot go on for like this forever. And that's another fact, that one has to go through even more darkness after a suicide, the planes of darkness that one has to go through. But that is what one chooses, because the delight is not seen anywhere in my life. So that's what tells us that the delight is the basis of existence or life, the will to live. Yeah. Even when we are absorbed in our day to day activities, somebody may like to cook, somebody may like to do the jhadu, there would be some or the other delight I am getting, some or the other streak of delight. And I may again later on complain that, oh my god, I have so much of work, I have to rear up these children, and there is so much at my hand. But I cannot ignore the fact that there is delight, a streak of delight in all that also. Otherwise I will not even feel the impulse to lift out my hand and do that activity. The very fact that I am able to push myself to do that activity tells me that there is some contentment I am finding there. Yeah. And if imagine that at one point of time, the very same activity, for example, I am attending the Savitri session today, right? And imagine that one point of time it happens that I stop getting delight from the Savitri session. I will actually not be able to force myself to do the session. I for just right now, leaving all the course or chores in our life, we are here attending the session. Why? Because it just feels nice. It gives us delight. And at this point of time, if there was something really far more interesting that I will be doing, I think we should actually be doing that particular thing, because it's only delight that is to be followed. So if there is actually something more interesting than this that is happening right now in the world, and I feel that I'm missing on that particular thing, I should be actually there and not here. So this actually is very interesting, this exploration. Yeah. So this, as if it gave a recall, it almost reminded uh, of the soul's adventure into space. Now we have read in Sri Aurobindo and Mother that all the souls that have plunged into this matter, that we know that we are all souls, we are hum sab atma hai, or in theory we all know that, but we still see that there is so much of inconscience in us. Why can't I make it happen in outer behavior and action? So we all plunged into this unconscious knowingly. We took this adventure of being limited beings. Even knowing that I am limitless, I have trapped as if myself into this limited body, the mind, the feelings. And my journey is now to again reclaim that limitlessness, having the body, having the mind, having the feelings, knowing myself more and more as that limitlessness, and manifesting itself out in mind, thoughts, feelings, sensations, and perceptions. Can it be done? Yes, it can be done. And that is what the promise Sri Aurobindo and Mother have shown us, the certitude. So this recall of the soul's adventure, this is the adventure. Plunging myself knowingly in this game, that yes, I have eyes, I have very powerful eyes, but now I am going to become blind, as if I am blind, I can't see anything. And now see what happens in my life. This is the adventure. And then reclaiming my vision from that blindness. So going through that struggle, imagine what is the struggle that a little child goes through. When a child is born, he is a fully conscious soul. And yet he has to go through all the struggle of falling and crawling, and all that has to be done again, developing a mind and all that struggle a soul has to go through. And it is not a struggle which has somebody else has pushed me into. I have pushed myself into this. Why? Because it is fun. It's fun to rediscover. It's fun to reclaim my power back after having lost my power. That is fun. And this is the fun of duality. This is the fun of duality. Today I was kind of little tight on time before the session was happening. So I had something at my hand to finish. And it was so much of fun. So throughout that activity that I had to finish, I was as if I was in a constant reminder of, yes, there is nothing that I'm going to lose. And it was so thrilling, this challenge, that I have this 1 hour of a window of a time, and I have to move my hands fast, and I have to finish that job in 1 hour of a time. So it almost become like a thrill. It gave me such a thrill that I had to overpower my limited sense of time, and the actions, because my hands cannot move at a very fast pace. That is the limit that hand has. So I have to move my hands in a way that I don't break the stuff, and yet I get done with the stuff. So I was feeling such a thrill, owing to this knowing that I have this 1 hour, I have to get done with this stuff, and yes, I'll be able to do that. So as if the limit of that time gave me that thrill of overpowering my thresholds of doing and acting, and finishing stuff on time. So this is how the game of duality is so much of fun. Only after losing myself to a limited entity can I have real fun once I reclaim my power back, reclaim my limitlessness back from that limited self. So, this is the game of the divine. This is the Leela of the divine. So, first I will lose myself in being a limited person, and then I will know slowly, 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 oh my God, I was never ever limited. This is the fun. And one by one, slowly, each one of us is getting glimpses in our own ways that yes, this can be done, this can be done. So this is the soul's adventure of the paradox of timeless in time, limitlessness in the limits, the divine in the form. This is the paradox. A traveler through the magic centuries. We don't even know how many centuries this game has been going on. The soul is a traveler through the magic centuries, and a being's labor in matter's universe. What is the labor? To manifest the light and fullness of the divine in this dark and obscure matter. To manifest limitlessness within the limits. To manifest oneness in so-called multiplicity. To manifest light in the darkness. This is the being's labor. When we talk about labor, it feels as if something is getting born. We talk about labor pains. It's almost like that. The earth has to give birth to its divine life, and we are all part of that earth. We are all, the more we are individually giving ourselves a new birth, we are helping the earth move towards this newer life. This is our foremost and prior responsibility. Nothing else is more urgent than this responsibility of giving birth each moment to my newer and newer and newer self. It is not that once I am reborn into a new consciousness, this is done. It's not like that. As Sri Aurobindo says, light after light, consciousness after consciousness. This game goes on and on and on. So this is the fun. Giving birth to ourselves Birth after birth, birth after birth, birth after birth. So this is the labor and the struggle that is there, and beings labor in matter's universe. Yeah. These are very deep, deep lines, framed all packed up together, in richness in this stanza. Its search for the mystic meaning of its birth. Why am I born? So many mystics over centuries and eons have reflected, contemplated again and again, and even then it is not enough. Mystic meaning of its birth, and yet we find so much of solace when we reach these little milestones in our life, that yes, I feel that I'm more than what I was yesterday. A joy of high spiritual response. So the more I crave in life for something more, some progress in life, immediately, as if a response is given. We call this aspiration. There is a willingness in my being to know more, to become more in my being. And immediately, as if from the heavens, from the higher realms of consciousness, a response is given. A joy of high spiritual response. And I feel it so deeply in my being that yes, I was touched by some response and I know it for myself. And that is enough for some time. So yes, it is mind boggling. Doubts are there, murmurings of desires are there, everything is mind boggling. But then I also have these contentments, the periods of where I felt a deep connection with the divinity or the higher realms of consciousness. Its search for the mystic meaning of its birth and joy of high spiritual response, its throb of satisfaction and content. We all have touched those phases in our life where we are resting in that contentment, that yes, I was able to at least cross a little threshold in my life. What bothered me yesterday now is not having any power to bother me today, right? So that is a throb of satisfaction, of a content. I feel settled somewhere, I feel settled within before the next challenge rises up. In all the sweetness of the gifts of life, these are the gifts of life: the desire, the doubt, the longing, the yearning, the momentary satisfaction, the content, the oneness with the divine. Its large breadth and pulse and thrill of hope and fear. Even hope and fear are gifts from life. There is nothing in this life which is not a gift. So, can I look at life and can I look at my hopes and fears as gifts? What wonderful life would that become if I actually take all that on a platter as a gift from life. Pulse and thrill, what thrill and hope, thrill of hope, thrill of fear. Something makes me feel that yes, I am alive. Even when I'm full of anxiety, panic may be there, doubts may be there, hope or hopelessness may be there, but the thrill is also there. Something is moving in my being, and that makes me feel alive. The taste of pangs, the pangs of pain, emotional upheavals that we go through. Its taste of pangs and tears and ecstasy. Haven't we all tasted in some or other sense all these, gifts of life? Its raptures, poignant beat of sudden bliss. And then suddenly in one of the experiences, I may just fear such a joy, such a rapture, that poignancy, it is so sharp, it is so moving and touching that I feel that I will not be even able to bear it. It's so deep and moving, so full in itself, rich in itself. And we all have tasted those experiences also too. Sudden bliss, something you didn't do anything, but you just experienced such a state of ecstasy or of bliss, and that was another gift from life. The sob of its passion and unending pain, and that is also a gift. Unending pain and the sob of passion, how passion makes us exert our energies towards itself. Sob of passion, why on earth am I following this? But I am following this, I see that. One cannot even help when one is so passionate about something. But this is all a gift of life. This is all gifts, presents from life. So can we look at all that as a present from life? Would it be possible for us? And then life actually, begins, almost takes a new meaning in itself. That when fear strikes me next, when doubt strikes me next, I am in that consciousness that I see it as a gift of life. Then I will not be able to react as I used to when I did not take it as a gift of life. That's the beauty. Something new unfolds. The same hope, same fear, same anxiety will reveal something more to me. Yeah. Yes, this was something, this paragraph was a little very rich. Yeah.
Very beautiful, Monica.
Yeah.
Yes. Today a picture came to in front of me when you explained that thrill, no? Thrill
Yeah.
of, yeah.
Yeah.
My Pondicherry travel used to be like that only, actually.
Mm, mm,
With lot of pressure, I will start from here. But if I go by road, that when I reach Tiruvannamalai, I will get the thrill. Oh, we are
mm.
reaching Pondicherry.
Beautiful.
And yeah, if I go by train from that station, Viluppuram, I'll get that thrill. So
Beautiful.
every time there will be a lot of pressure when I start. Actually, it is my journey. It is my journey almost.
Beautiful.
But yeah, but that thrilling experience, no, I don't know. Till today, I have actually like a child.
Ah, ah. Beautiful. So nice.
Yeah, I can't explain that, but now when you are explaining these lines, oh, this is the thing. I
Yeah.
realized that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you very
Beautiful.
much.
Yeah. It touches us, these
Yeah,
thrills touches somewhere so
yeah,
deep that one is not able to put it in words. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You shared your experience of Tiruvannamalai, when after doing my PhD, I went also on this a little short uh, vacation or pilgrimage of my own kind. And in one of the stops was Ramana Maharishi's ashram.
Yeah.
So I remember that I was in this passenger bus from Bangalore to Tiruvannamalai,
Mm.
and on the way, I was again, as you said, I was so thrilled. So on the way, because this was the first time I was visiting that place, almost
Okay.
every hill that would come
Yeah.
on the way, I would say, and maybe this is the Arunachal,
Yeah.
and it was so thrilling. It was so thrilling, as if I
Yeah.
remember the smell of that air still in my being.
Yeah, it will be beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes. So Radhana, Radhika, and anything to share? I think I'm done for today. Yes. Okay. Great. Great then. Yeah, I think I'll stop here. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
joining.
you, Monica. These lines again and again, I think, hearing them.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.